Yo, what's up, everybody? Jack back here with some more division previews. Um, and I'm gonna be doing the NFC North now, which is again another kind of obvious one, but it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how it pans out. In first place, I have the Packers. Second place, I have the Bears. Third place, Vikings. Fourth place, Lions. So, looking at the Packers, uh, obviously, interesting offseason with the whole Rodgers thing. You know, I the Packers have done a bad job handling him. Obviously, that's it's kind of a known truth. They definitely could have done certain things and re-signed certain people to keep him around. I mean, they let Peppers walk. Um, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, just a lot of guys when they probably could have re-signed up Jordy Nelson. So I know Rodgers was mad about that, kind of letting some guys walk when they shouldn't have. And then just like kind of refusing to draft a wide receiver. They took Darnell Savage, so I'm not going to criticize them for that. But then this year they also took another cornerback, which didn't really make a lot of sense considering they have some depth there. Instead of taking a wide receiver in a wide receiver heavy draft. But it's whatever. I mean, he's going to stay for 1 year and he's going to be gone. Really too bad they're losing, a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I don't know. I mean, I don't really know what to say on the matter considering I a little bit bought into the fact that he was aging and, didn't have quite his magic that he used to have. And a lot of people were saying that, and some people really liked them drafting Jordan Love, and I don't know how I felt about it. I thought it was kind of a little too fast to do something like that, but who knows. But anyways, looking at them, they got Aaron Jones, they got A.J. Dillon, which is a good start, good backfield there, and then they got Bakhtiari, they've got, they don't have Corey Linsley anymore. They have Bakhtiari, who's really good. The rest of their line is kind of mediocre. It's kind of been peeled off chip by chip. Linsley's gone. Balag is gone. TJ Lang is gone. Like, kind of all these guys they lost, who were kind of a part of that legendary offensive line that won that Super Bowl and, carried them in the playoffs a lot. But still got Bakhtiari. He's great. And I think their line will be decent, as it is every year. I think they have a good line coach. Weapons, you've got arguably the best wide receiver in Devontae Adams. I mean, he's just incredible. Absolute beast. They've got and then they've got some very average targets. They've got Devin Funchess. They've got Lazard. They've got Valdez-Scantling. All guys who are just kind of like, they could definitely improve. Get like, just someone a little bit above the tier of that. Off the top of my mind, maybe getting Julio would have been nice. Just something else. And then they have Tunyon at tight end, who had a good year last year, partially. He had some touchdowns and some key receptions. So I guess it was good. They got some production out of him. Jimmy Graham, I think No, Jimmy Graham was 2 years ago. So offense is really good. I mean, they got Aaron Rodgers, got Aaron Jones, got Devontae Adams, pretty good offensive line. So not much of a concern there. And then their defense is very good as well. They've got Kenny Clark, who's a premier, one of the best defensive tackles in the league. They've got Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith. Preston Smith coming from the Redskins, who he was okay for them and just kind of broke out for the Packers. Great pass rusher. Zadarius Smith, good as well. And then they've got Jair Alexander and Kevin King as their corners. They got Kevin King from the Chargers last year at the trade deadline, so pretty good trade. Didn't have to give up much, and he's your second cornerback. And then Jair Alexander, obviously one of the best corners in the league, probably definitely top 10. And then you got Adrian Amos from the Bears, who's a great free safety or strong safety. And then, as I mentioned, Darnell Savage from the University of Maryland, who's another good safety. So really good defense here. And then they got that corner in the first round. I don't know the scouting report on him, but he's got to be decent. So good defense, good offense, well-rounded team. I don't know how far they'll get playoff-wise. They'll definitely be in the playoffs. Definitely win this division, unless Justin Fields tears it up, but I don't think that'll happen. The reason, so let's get into the Bears. The reason I have them at second is because I'm really intrigued to see what they can do with an actual quarterback. You know, with Trubisky last year, they beat up on the bad teams because they made the playoffs, I feel like. Maybe they did. I can't even remember. But, you know, they were like in the hunt for they started off really well with Nick Foles. You know, he like came in for Trubisky and they were like 5-1 or something. I mean, it was unprecedented. And they were beating all these really bad teams. Then they start playing good teams. They start losing. People start realizing, oh, Trubisky's terrible. You know, this team or Nick Foles isn't good, and then they fell to Trubisky, and Trubisky wasn't playing well. And they really just did a good job of beating up on the bad teams. They played well against bad teams because their defense is like decent. So you know that helped a lot. And then they could somehow run the ball and throw the ball to Allen Robinson a lot, and then run the ball with Montgomery, throw a bunch of screens. So I guess that worked out. But you know, they have Dalton, he's just not that great. I thought he was better than he actually was. With Dallas, he just wasn't very good last year, and he had a lot of weapons. I mean, he had Zeke, he had CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, you know, and he really just didn't get that much done. Just wasn't very good. And I actually thought he would be like an okay option for the Pats as like a serviceable quarterback, and then you know they have a good defense. But you know, last season, instead they got Cam, but he just wasn't very good. So Andy Dalton's just not that great. And then Justin Fields is just a wild card. I really don't have a read on him. I really don't know if he's going to be good or if he's just going to be kind of like mediocre. That Clemson game, right? Yeah, Clemson, he was just like electric, so good, so athletic. I mean, the throws he's making, just one of the best games I've ever seen from a quarterback in college football. Really impressive. I just wonder like how good of a pocket passer he'll be, how accurate he can be, and just you know how well he can take hits as well. I just don't really know with Justin Fields. But regardless of the Bears, regardless of that quarterback situation, you have to look at their team otherwise, and it's pretty decent. They have a respectable line. They lost Charles Leno, but apparently he's not that good. My friend who's a big Bears fan doesn't like him at all. They got Jason Peters, who gets injured all the time, but he's a good left tackle. And they got a Fetty from the Seahawks, who again is like okay as well. So I guess their line's a little worse. And then they've got Cole Kmet, who I like as a tight end. They got Jimmy Graham. They've got Marquise Goodwin from the 49ers, who hasn't been good in a while. And then they got one of the best wide receivers, one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league, in Allen Robinson. And then Darnell Mooney, who I'm not much of a fan of. And Demir Bird, who was on the Pats last year. So some good weapons. I think Montgomery's like decent. He's serviceable running back, maybe a little above average. He's all right. And then you got to look at their defense, which is pretty good. The secondary is not going to be as good as usual since they cut Kyle Fuller. Didn't make much sense of that. I don't really know what they were doing there. He's an all-pro cornerback, and you just need him in your lineup. You need a number one cornerback to guard Devontae Adams and Adam Thielen / Justin Jefferson. So they're really going to struggle this year against those teams. We saw the Lions just get absolutely torched by those guys last year because they didn't really have a number one corner. Okuda's just not really there yet. But they still have Gibson, Tashawn Gibson, and Eddie Jackson. Great pair of safeties. Their corners are Jalen Johnson, who I don't remember who that is. Like, I don't know if he's a draft pick or something. But he played at Utah and I guess was draft pick there. Don't really know that guy. And Kindle Vildor is their other cornerback. They also have Desmond Trufant, who I like a little on. He's kind of past his prime. But you got to look at their front seven also. Akeem Hicks, absolute beast. Eddie Goldman, beast. Khalil Mack, beast. Roquan Smith's pretty good. Trevathan's good. Robert Quinn is good. That's a really good front seven. So you got to be pleased with that. And that's going to cause some havoc. They always have a good defense, especially front seven. So that'll pay off. The reason I have them in front of the Vikings is just because they have a better defense. And their offenses are... The Vikings definitely have a better offense, but it's still like you don't really know what you're going to get with Cousins. And I just think the Vikings defense is terrible. So let's get into Vikings. Again, kind of a similar... Honestly, kind of similar to the Packers, besides for quarterback. So I'll just tell you the facts about Cousins. I kind of think he's been underrated, but he's on a huge contract, which is bad because everyone talks about it and everyone's like, oh, he's so overpaid. And it's like, if they paid him like the right amount of money, he wouldn't get as much hate. And like, I think he'd probably maybe play a little bit better. He's a quarterback who's good enough to have, but not to replace. But I don't think he's good enough to win a Super Bowl. But that's the least of their concerns right now. The concern should be their defense, but I'll get into that later. They have Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the NFL. Just an absolute beast last year. Had a huge year. And just as a workhorse who is absolute stud. Then they honestly, the Diggs trade, sorry, I gotta sneeze. Can't sneeze. The Diggs trade, they got some criticism for it. And he did well in Buffalo, but they replaced him with Justin Jefferson, who's absolute beast. And then, to have Thielen and then Irv Smith aside him is pretty solid. That's a good tandem of weapons for Cousins, and he benefited from that. Cousins I think he had a really good quarterback rating in the fourth quarter or something like that, which was crazy. But overall, the metrics say, back to Cousins, the metrics say that he had the most touchdowns and yards when down 10 or more points in the NFL from a quarterback. So kind of that garbage yards vibe with Cousins is actually kind of true. Their line, I don't know a single person on their line. They have Christian Darrisaw from the draft, who I remember. So I guess he'll start. And then Ezra Cleveland, I think I've heard of. But Garrett Bradbury, I don't think I've heard of. Oli Udoh, never heard of that guy. Never heard of Brian O'Neill. So don't really know their line. I don't think it's that great if I don't know anybody on their offensive line. Then their defense is... It's not that good. They have Harrison Smith. I don't know if he's overrated. I mean, he's a pretty good safety. Is he, a top safety in this league? I don't know about that. They have Pat Peterson, which actually, unbeknownst to me, I really didn't know that. And Breland from the Chiefs. So actually not a terrible pairing for quarterbacks. They get Anthony Barr back, which is huge. They really missed him last year. And to pair him with Eric Kendricks, that's a solid. And then Nick Vigil, who went to maybe TCU. He's a decent linebacker as well. So that's a good linebacking core. They still don't... Losing Ngakoue hurts. I don't think he's very good. They traded him, but it'd be nice to have him as a pass rusher. They still have Daniel Hunter, who is a decent pass rusher, and Michael Pierce from the Ravens. Dalvin Tomlinson, I feel like I recognize that name. But their defense is it's a little better actually than I thought it was, looking at the roster. It's all right. They're just a mediocre team. Nothing really that special. They could maybe honestly finish second in the division and make a run at the playoffs. They're just very mediocre across the board, which is interesting. I didn't think they were this good. I thought their defense was a lot worse than it actually was. It was terrible last year, so it's a safe assumption. Um,